while managing all these things. Okay, so proceeding further, the purpose of dear viewers, the purpose of writing the dissertation proposal is to assure that the research plan for answering the research question is complete and is on the academic merit. The research scholars who work under the guidance of their supervisory committee for composing and writing the dissertation proposal, being an essential first step towards writing and completing their Ph.D. However, there is always some sort of confusion that remains in the minds of the research scholars regarding the various components of this research proposal. So today our presenters, the respected scholars, respected researchers and the professors, they will discuss their topics with the purpose to remove this confusion in the mind of the research scholars. So I hope that today's session will be a valuable one for all of us. And at the end, I'm thankful to all the participants for sparing their time for this important session. Okay, now proceeding further, I would like to invite, first of all, the Dr. Ashar Zahid. The topic of his presentation is the critical questions being asked during the research proposal defense. So, Dr. Ashar, sir, please, sir.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, sir. Thank you
very much, Mr. Musa.
You have the 15,
Thank you very much, Mr. Musa.
Thank you, sir. You have 15 minutes for this, sir.
Okay, Mr. Musa, thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to guide the different students and scholars that how to write the research proposal defense. Though this is a short session, and in this session, I will try to clarify the different students that what sort of questions the different reviewers and examiners may ask during the MS and PhD study proposal defense. As we already know that research writing and proposal writing is a very technical matter, and there are many technical issues which should be on fingertips of different students when they are going to present their proposal and when they are going to reply the different queries on the part of the reviewers and examiners. So in this session, we will have a review of these sort of questions. Okay, a very important question which may be asked by the reviewers and examiners, that is, what is your motivation for the study? What inclined the scholar and the students to undertake a particular sort of study? Alternatively, they can be asked that what is the research problem? So in this sort of question, they should elaborate the different problem investigated in the study, and they will have to discuss the issue to be resolved after you have completed this study. So problem statement is, is a critical area of the proposal defense. That is the area of concern of your proposal. And in this sort of question, you'll have to justify that what condition is to be improved after you have investigated and completed this study. And you'll have to identify and justify the gap between what is and what should be. So that will justify the problem statement. In short, you'll have to clarify and describe the different parameters, what is to be investigated. So that is a very important question, and you should be very well prepared for that. Another critical and very technical question which will be asked by the reviewers, that is, what is the contribution to the body of knowledge, and how you have filled the knowledge gap. Now, this is again very technical question, and you have to be logical and smart while answering this question. As you know that research is a sort of generating knowledge. Without contributing to the body of knowledge, the purpose of the research is not being fulfilled. So for that purpose, you have to be logical, because sometimes there queries by the panel that this problem which you have selected for your study have already been undertaken by so many researchers in the past. So you will have to quickly reply that this is the different problem. Maybe the problem has been undertaken by the different scholars, but maybe you have used a different method in conducting the investigation for solving that problem. So in this manner, you can justify that. You may also have some new issue to be resolved. You can also define that issue, that this is the new issue which is going to be resolved after this study. Then you may have presented some new model with some new variables, so you can also justify that this is a new model with proper logical, with proper theoretical background, and in this way you can also justify the panel. So the area in which is going to be done by the researcher, that is to be clearly justified. And especially at the level of PhD and MS, there should be a significant contribution of this study. Sometimes the different students may reply this question that there is a study which have been done in some other parts of the world, and you have taken that study in that area of study for your own country. In that particular case, again, you will have to justify that whether some study which have been done somewhere else, how it can be justifiable in a particular society and country. So you can include the different variables or justifications that why that study is worthwhile to be conducted in that particular area and society. So viewers, this is a very important question, technical question. You'll have to be very well prepared, and again, it should be on your fingertips that what is the significant contribution and what knowledge you have fulfill during this investigation. So next important question is about the significance of this study. Again, as per my experience, sometimes the students are confused by differentiating significance and the objectives of the study. So significance is purely the importance of the study you have investigated. In this particular query or question, you will have to justify that what will be the benefit of your study to the organization under which you have undertaken that study, and what will be the benefits to the society, because research is not without any benefit, and you will have to justify the importance and how the policymakers and the organizations can define the different strategies after they have go through your study. On the other part, the objectives are something different. That is not the importance. That is the specific, objectives which are to be achieved during that research investigation. So it is very important for the students to have a sort of clarification and difference between significance of the study and objectives of the study. Okay, viewers, as far as the title of the study is concerned, the significance of the study, objectives of the study, hypotheses of the study, all of these things are interrelated with each other. And we cannot discuss it in isolation. Like title of the study is like an umbrella under which your research questions, your objectives, and hypotheses should be covered. So usually the research questions and objectives are specifically asked and should be narrated by the students during their defense presentation, and hypothesis, how to narrate the hypothesis according to the analysis which is going to be done in future in order to test those hypotheses. That is very important. For example, the pet way to describe the correlational hypothesis, regressional hypothesis, significance difference hypothesis. So you should be very careful about narrating all of these research questions, objectives, and hypotheses. And whenever there is any question about significance objectives, you should know the difference. What is the significance and what are the objectives of this study? Then various variables of the study and the key literature is again important. You should know about the important literature behind your own study of investigation. Most importantly, how you have conceptualized the different variables. That is important. Conceptualization and how you have crystallized it, and most importantly, how you have operationalized the different variables. That is important. So these are the very important things which are usually asked by the reviewers and examiners. Again, these are the very technical questions, and you should be well prepared that about it, and especially the operationalization of the variables. You should know about the different operational variables, their definitions, the key literature about these variables. So you should be very much aware about these operational definitions of the variables. Most important area about which the different reviewers and examiners may ask the different questions, that is the research methodology. The most important, I would say, area of your, as far as your proposal defense is concerned. There are two important issues as far as the methodology is concerned, about which most of the examiners may ask the different questions. The first issue is about the sampling design. In sampling design, there are the two important things in the sampling design. One is the sampling method, and the other one is the sample size. So you'll have to justify why you have chosen a particular sampling method. What are the different assumptions behind that method? What is the level of generalization of that particular method? If you have used the probability method or the non-probability sampling method, you'll have to justify why you have used this particular method for your study of investigation. And again, always keep in mind the limitations and the different assumptions behind those studies and the level of generalizability. So it should be very much clear to the students and the scholars while answering the different queries of the examiners. Another important issue which may be asked by the reviewers, that is about the sample size, that why you have selected a particular sample size. Generally, there is no hard and fast rule about the selection of the sample size, but there may be different justifications that can help you, that how you have chosen a particular sample size. You can also use the different formulas in order to compute the sample size of your study. That will be, if you have done that, that will be a plus point, and you can easily justify the sample size. Even if you have not used the different formulas, you can justify with the help of the literature that in the past, how the different other researchers have used and selected the different sample size, and that sample size should be such that your generalizability should not be sacrificed, and that also depends on the objectives of the study, that are your objectives of investigation. So in line with the objectives and all that, in the research questions, you'll have to define your sampling design, and you should be very well prepared about this particular aspect of methodology. Next important issue which may be discussed and may be asked by the reviewers, that is about the measurement instrument. Again, the measurement instrument and their, their references, the scale you have used, particular variable, all these things again should be on your fingertips. And you may be asked why have you chosen that particular instrument. You have to just you can use the different references that indicate how the different other researchers have used these sort of instruments. If you have developed your own, you are going to develop your own instrument, then again you should discuss about the reliability and the validity. If you have used some adopted instrument, again you can, at this stage of proposal, you can also discuss the reliability and validity which the other researchers have used about this instrument. So that these sort of things can justify about the selection of certain measuring instrument. If you are doing some, if you are using some secondary data, then you can describe about the data source, that from whether the data source from where you have collected the data, whether that is file that is current, and confidentiality of the data should also be discussed, and the authenticity of the data from this source from where you have selected the secondary data. These are important. So these are some of the issues which may be asked by the reviewers and examiners during the proposal defense, and you should be well aware of that. Now, viewers, another very important concern, that should be a very important concern for the presenters, that is about the theoretical framework and the theories behind your study.
Two or 3 minutes left, sir.
Okay, sir, I'm trying to concise it. Okay, there should be 2 to 3 important theories which should be backed by your literature and which should support your theoretical framework. And it is not necessary to narrate too many theories, to 1 or 2 most important theories which can back up by the literature, and we can justify your theoretical framework. That is usually this theory, relation, and theoretical framework is usually asked by the examiners and evaluators. Then students, at the proposal stage, you should have defined the different data analysis techniques which are going to be used for further data analysis. And these data analysis techniques should again be in line with the hypothesis to be tested, and you should describe about the different tools, research tools like research SPSS or eViews or some other tools, and the different techniques like correlation, regression, significant difference, mediation, modation. You'll have to define all of these techniques during your research proposal defense. And again, they may ask the questions that what techniques can you should use in order to test your hypothesis. So you should be very well prepared about these data analysis techniques as well. Scope of the study, that is again very important area in which you can define about the scope, that is defining the breadth and the domain of the of your study. So you can define the limitations and the delimitations of the research investigation and your study, and that will again define the scope of the study. Okay, thanks for listening, and I good luck for all of the students and scholars who are going to see this seminar and who are going to present their proposals in future. Good luck to all. Thank you very much, Mr. Musa, for giving me the chance to present during this seminar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arshad. Thank you very much, Dr. Arshad. Also, the viewers, the email and all the communication and the contact details of Dr. Arshad Zahir will be displayed at the end of the, will be sent to the registered participants, and also it will be shown on the description of the video as well. Okay, so well, moving on, next I'm going to invite Honorable Dr. Shafi Muhammad Abdul Hamid for his presentation. He is live from Doha, Qatar. So Dr. Shafi, sir, please, sir, over to you. The topic of Dr. Shafi's presentation is the critical aspect of the literature review for the research proposal. Sir, please, sir. Sir, are you going to share your presentation yourself, or should I? You can play it on your side as well, sir. Share the screen. Okay, thank you.
See the screen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can see, sir. Please carry on, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to join you guys for this webinar again. This is my second time participating in the Learners Podcast webinar organized by Professor Musa. The first thing I want to mention is there's a little change in the topic. The topic mentioned by Professor Musa is not my topic. My topic is tips for writing irresistible PhD proposals. And as he earlier introduced me, my name is Dr. Shafi Muhammad Abdul Hamid. I'm joining you guys from Doha, Qatar, Community College of Qatar. So the introduction, he also introduced me already, so I will quickly jump these slides. But for the purpose of those that will watch later, you can see the details of my intro. So the presentation outline for my presentation is also seen on the screen. I will start by explaining the skeletal of a typical PhD proposal and the purpose. Then I will look at the SMART objectives, connected papers, published papers, and irresistible PhD proposal outline that I will bring out. So, but before I continue, I would like to make a little clarification as well. When we talk about PhD proposals, two things come to our minds. The first thing is a proposal written by a prospective PhD student that is looking for an admission. And the second one is a proposal written by a already admitted PhD student that will be presenting as a progress of his work, maybe after a year or after 2 semesters. So for my own presentation, I will be concentrating on how you can write a proposal. How a prospective PhD student will write a proposal that will earn him an admission at the end of the search, or that will make him to attract a prospective PhD supervisor, or sometimes will help him to earn a scholarship. So a typical PhD proposal looks like this. We have the title, introduction, problem statement, aim and objectives, scopes and limitation, review of literature, methodology, expected results, and references. Basically, these are the things that almost all the prospective PhD students used to write. So the purpose of my presentation today is to give tips on how you can beautify these different aspects of the PhD proposal in such a way that it will attract the attention of a prospective PhD supervisor, and the person will get interest in your work and probably recommend you for admission. Or sometimes a selection board will look at your PhD proposal and decide to recommend you for getting a scholarship. So, what is the purpose of writing the proposal? The first thing is, I already mentioned that is for the prospective PhD student to earn admission, mostly in the premium universities, in the foreign universities. The second one is for the prospective PhD student to be able to gain a scholarship. So there are different types of scholarships. Example is the Commonwealth PhD scholarship. There are also many other ones. We have the Fulbright Scholar and many other ones, as you can see on the screen. For further information, if you want to have further information on how to get a PhD scholarship in a foreign body, you can visit the website written on the screen. So the first thing is the title. The first presenter already discussed a little about the title, but because I'm interested in beautification, how to make it more beautiful and more attractive so that a prospective supervisor will pick interest or a selection board will pick interest. So I will concentrate more on those things. The first thing is you have to select a hot topic. For example, a good example of a hot topic is maybe a PhD research proposal on something related to COVID-19, because COVID-19 is now a global news. Everybody is interested. What is it that you want to bring in? What is the new thing that you want to tell us about COVID-19? So by mere looking at the title of the topic, a supervisor will quickly pick interest, or a selection board will pick interest on your work. And if it's properly written, of course, it's a sure banker you will get the admission or you will get the scholarship. So other important things that your title must reflect has to do with the problem that you are trying to solve. You have to highlight it from the title, and also the proposed method must reflect in the title, and the area of application. Where is it that you are applying this? So again, your title should be precise and catchy. Catchy means something that will attract attention immediately. Then after the title, the next thing is the introduction. What are those things? Because mostly we know how to write introduction, but what are those things that will catch attention when you are writing introduction? So I always advise your introduction should be in an inverted pyramid format. The first paragraph should discuss about background. First paragraph. Second paragraph, you quickly catch the attention of the reader by telling the problem that you are trying to address. Then the last paragraph, 3 paragraphs for a proposal is okay. The last paragraph discuss about the method that you intend to use. So then the statement of the problem. Already we have a presenter that will discuss about this, but what are those things? What are those tips that will catch the attention of everybody when reading the statement of the problem? The first thing is you have to clearly state the research gap. Then the problem must emanate from recent and relevant literatures. So Dr. Badamasi will explain further, so I will quickly go to the objectives. The objectives should follow what we call SMART principle. Already the first presenter has gave a little information about how the objectives will look like, but the SMART principle simply means that the objectives should be specific, should be measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Timely means it must be achieved within the period of 3 years for a PhD. So basically, the objective should concentrate on this. So the literature review. Literature review must be relevant. Also, you should use very good sources of information that are academically acceptable. So that means you have to look at papers that are coming from ISI Web of Science journals and Scopus journals. So these are very important things. I think Dr. Hussein will explain further about literature review when he comes. So, but again, I am concentrating on giving tips on what will catch the attention of supervisors. So this I call takeaway. What I mentioned at the above is actually the common things, but what are those things that will catch the attention of the supervisor or a selection board to give you a scholarship for the PhD? So I recommend we use this, what we call the connected papers. I will quickly explain what connected papers means in the next slide, but for more information, you get this website, connectedpapers.com. This is how the website look like. So the title of your proposal, you just put it on the search engine here and click. It will give you a graph that looks like this. This graph actually shows all the papers that are connected to each other related to the title that you are writing. So when you are writing the literature, you should narrate the story in a way that the story will cover all the papers or almost all the papers that are shown in this graph. This graph is as well important. You can capture this graph and put it as part of the proposal, and then you follow the graph to narrate the story of how all these papers come together and arrive at the specific problem that you are going to address. So this connected papers is quite important for writing literature reviews. So there are some things that maybe you may need to know about it: prior works, derived works. So you can look at the prior works. These are the references. Derived works from that also, you can see that. So then the methodology. For somebody that is writing a proposal that will earn him an admission, mostly the methodology of the work is not very concretely clear to the person in most cases. So, but what is important is that he needs to show or demonstrate that he have a good understanding of the method, and also how to apply the method that he or she chooses, and then how this method is applied in other similar areas. So this will give the supervisor or the selection board an idea that yes, this person actually understands the method, and he's probably or she is probably going to be able to apply the method in the intended title. Then other important tips that I want to mention is there should be a time frame within 3 years because it's a PhD. Normally, you can demonstrate this using a Gantt chart, and then you have to state the facilities or tools that you may need to be able to implement the research. And then you may have to probably include a budget. Budget mostly is an approximate budget. It may not be precise, but you need to give an idea of how much you need to be able to carry out your PhD research. The references for a proposal that will earn you an admission, you have to demonstrate that you have a scholarly understanding of how to use the references. So all cited papers or references within the body of the text, of course, must be referenced at the end of the writing. Then it's important you strictly follow a particular referencing style. Mostly for proposal writing, we use upper style, but some scholarships actually they specify which of the referencing style you will use. So you have to follow it strictly in order to demonstrate that you have an understanding of how to make citations and connect them to references. So with this, I think you can actually use some referencing softwares like Mendeley or EndNote. It will as well help. Then after the references, you think it's over. But in most cases, if you want to really catch the attention of a prospective supervisor or a selection board to give you an admission, you need to include a list of papers that you have presented or published previously. In most cases, because you are just a master's holder at the time, the paper should come from maybe your master's dissertation, or you can as well have maybe a reference paper that is related to the title of the topic that you are actually planning to go and do the PhD on. So this will demonstrate that actually you have started doing some things already related to the topic. So paper related to your master's work or paper related to the PhD title that you are actually writing. So that will give the selection board an impression that you have an understanding of what you are doing. But most importantly, the papers should be indexed, papers that are indexed in either Web of Science or ISI or Scopus. So basically, I have already explained the various tips that will catch their attention. But in summary, if you look at my screen now, you can see that for each of the different sections of the proposal, I put something in green. The green shows those things that I mentioned that will catch the attention of a supervisor or anybody reading your proposal. So with this, if you take note and follow it strictly, you may be lucky. But another important thing is you have to use simple English. Don't use too long sentences, short sentences to catch the attention. Also avoid as much as possible high similarity index. That means you have to avoid plagiarism. Possibly you may have to use the tonic in your paper after writing. Then it shouldn't be too long proposal. Maybe 10 pages is okay, because most of the supervisors, actually they are busy guys. They don't have time to sit down and read 20, 30 pages of proposal. No, 10 pages is okay. Once you can concisely write the proposal in 10 pages, they can quickly look at it, read through, and if you are lucky, you get picked. But these are important things that I just mentioned. So thank you for listening, and I hope you learn some things from my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shafi. Excellent presentation, sir. Really, there was a lot in it for our students and even for me as well, sir. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
welcome, sir. Next, moving on, I would like to request our Honorable Professor Dr. Tariq Mahmood from, he is going to be live from Islamabad. Dr. Tariq, sir, can you listen to me, sir? Dr. Tariq? Your voice is, just a minute, your voice is mute, I think. Hold on. Yeah, just checked. Yeah, Dr. Tariq?
Yeah, now it's unmuted. Okay, I
Yeah,
am listening
okay.
to you.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Okay, Dr. Tariq, just please, sir, over to you, sir. Play your, sir. Share the screen, sir. Thank you. Well, the topic of the Dr. Tariq presentation is how to start the research work. I mean, the finding the topics. Yes, please, sir, carry on, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Musa. And what the earlier presenters, Dr. Shazir and Dr. Abdul Hamid Shafi Abdul Hamid has done or has shown, I would almost continue to them. But since my area of expertise is different, a little different, so I would have a different sort of presentation here. In this particular presentation, I would mainly focus on that what are the obstacles and how to avoid the obstacles to find a research topic, particularly in the field of economics and business. Very humble objective aim here is just to provide a strategies for identifying existing thesis. So there is no hard and fast rule to present to find out or write a good dissertation, but still it depends upon the energies and imagination of a scholar, that what is the basically potential of a scholar and how much he can basically dedicate time and his energy to it. And the second very important aspect which I would focus is on the imaginations. The imagination, a person who carries out the research, that he should be having a broader thinking over the objective of life or objective of research, whatever he is going to do. So very important is that, as Dr. Shafi has also pointed out, that whether you are an intake taken by a supervisor or intake taken by a university, these are two different things. So how would you go through whether you have done a rigorous coursework or not? So that would help you if you have done a rigorous coursework already, and that would help you to finding out a research proposal, rather than a research topic easier as compared to because if I talk about the economics, we have very different fields of economics, like fiscal policy, like monetary policy, like taxation, like development economics and health economics, so many. So you can choose, you have gone through so many different theories of these research topics in these economic areas. So you can find any of the top theory which is very interesting to you, which you feel or perceive very interesting for yourself. So you can find it easier for you to go through it. So if you are a mentor-based as Mr. Shafi has said, that if your intake is that you are given admission on the basis of a supervisor, then you will have to focus on the supervisor. Then you will have to focus to the area of the supervisor. But if you have admission on the coursework basis, so you do the coursework first and then find a mentor, and then that mentor can be to the area that you are interested in. So take an excessive long time to decide your area of research. Take because so or neither you should take very long time in deciding your topic, or you should not have a very long list of your concept or imaginations to go through the PhD, because it would delay your PhD basically. So looking for the topic, first initially you specify your area. For example, I did my PhD in monetary economics. So I earlier on, when I was going to take admission in PhD, so I was considering that I would work on development economics particularly. But when I gone through the coursework, I changed my mind and I find monetary economics more interesting than the development economics. So I did my PhD in development in monetary. So there are two approaches which can be done. Number one, you think generalized models. You just have a general to specific approach. Although it is a time-taking approach, but it has some benefits in it. For example, you would have a widespread knowledge of things, and you have a widespread review of literature as well. You would study so many things at the purpose, and then you will come specify to your concrete areas. There is also another specific to general or the concrete research questions. Sometimes you are so much highly imaginary person that you can have so many questions at a time in your mind, and this would help you how to basically find or how to go a clear picture of your research proposals. So finding a topic is can be done through two ways, although both have their benefits and limitations as well. So there is a question that is there any right topic? So a simple answer to this question, if I disagree with one of the earlier presenter, there is no right topic. I would say I would rather quote this is good because anything heavy today may become light by the time you do it. I have changed the quote on Mr. Imam Ghazali, who used to say. So what is the logic behind this? That if you find a topic very hot today, for example, we start working doing my PhD on the current business situation in the presence of the pandemic, but this would be I think obsolete if the pandemic is over in the next 2 to 3 months. So uh, just try to focus that there is no right topic. The only topic that you choose for the PhD is where you are interested in. So your interest matters a lot, because there are for example, we in this era or in this particular area where we live in Pakistan and subcontinent, we don't have a specific school of learning that can make us to write novel things like Paul S. Milson, who changed the course of economics, like Karl Marx, whose PhD thesis went into a new beginning of another school of thought. So our focus must be whether that you we are have you have we are interested in something or not. For example, we select an area, and secondly, like as your business studies or in terms of business, we can say that we are investing our time and money into it. So these investments are not just limited to our thesis only. These investments are for our future growth as well. So we need to focus on our future growth. Second one is the general perspective. For example, generally people think that the economics is a boring subject. It is sometimes it is usually believed as well. So I find it fascinating and attractive because of a number of things, because of the variety of the theories we have, and because of the variety of the body of knowledge we have, and because of the variety of instruments we use to measure it, and we use to gauge it. So before choosing a topic, I have these suggestions are based on my personal experience. I try to cut it very short, but when I start writing, it ended up to 16 and number. But I would just go through some important out of it. Just first, very broadest suggestion for you to find your topic is, for particularly when you are going to start your PhD or MS thesis, just go to the research seminars of your interest, your particular interest, in your university and elsewhere. Any university which is near to you. These days you can find webinars on such topics as well, and you can find the research proposal or research findings of the other universities. For example, I personally used to visit Pakistan Institute of Development Economics, Quaid Azam University, International Islamic University, their libraries. I have gone almost all of the theses which were done out 2006 in Quaid Azam University and Pakistan Institute of Development Economics by 2006. So that may help you a lot in finding your research proposal. Read, but don't read too much. So this is another humble suggestion or humble advice for those who are going to start or those who are on the verge of starting their only the quality, the best articles from the Quarterly Journal of Economics, American Economic Review, Journal of Economic Literature, Journal of Political Economy, Econometrica, IMF swap papers, Journal of Monetary Economics, and NBR papers. These are the top in the top 20 journals of the world in the field of economics and business. So I have benefited a lot from them, and most of their literature is available to the general audience in free, particularly their content list. So if you find a content list of a journal, just register yourself in the new issue alert, and then go and you will find their recently published articles, and those articles would help you that how you can or what is the future dimension of the research that is going to take place. Read survey article in your research field. Okay, that is the obvious one, as my other colleagues have also emphasized on. For example, as I chose, since I have my sharing my personal experience, so I used to study these 4 or 5 journals very occasionally, and still I'm a member of. I receive their emails and their updates about their publications. Journal of Monetary Economics, Journal of Economics and Finance, IMF staff, International Monetary Fund staff's paper are also very much attractive and very much informative for us. Read some old journals of your area. This is very important in the sense that some old theories are still left to be tested empirically. They are not tested too much in particularly in the context of the developing countries. For example, if the theory that came in or that was presented in 1980s, and they may be studied empirically for the developed world, but for the developing countries, it is still underestimated or not tested. If you choose a social behavior topic, for example, we generally use a social topic like impact of healthcare incentives on the public expenditures, or like this, or any other behavioral issue. So whether the person, a particular person, is willing to pay his or her taxes depends on the community where he lives, or depend on the society where he lives. So you should also go through the journals of the other social marketing journals. For example, if we are studying law of demand and supply, and we want to have a research proposal like that, so you should read the marketing journals and psychology journals for the social and behavioral issues. So just to broaden your body of knowledge and thinking. Read several dissertation on the related. This is again related to the first topic as first point as well. As I have already told you, read the newspapers. Very famous economist known as Hall Arverian. He used to say that my main research, microeconomics, particularly in the microeconomics, he said, my main research is based on the newspaper, the news I have gone through in a particular area. This helps you a lot to find out a new research topic. Talk to others. If you have an idea, just share with others. Share with others, with your professors, your peers, your class fellows, your friends. Investigate empirically. If you want to investigate something empirically, find a good mechanism or the instrument. So for an empirical analysis, as my other presenter have emphasized that, so choose a topic or an instrument which is novel. At least that is novel. If the theory is not novel, then the instrument or the mechanism should be novel, or the contributing to the literature. Okay, never take. This is what we usually do in, particularly if I know my students and we in Pakistan are habitual of that, we take things for granted. Whether the literature is available on the topic is not, whether the data are available or not, whether the methods are available or not. And you just like a topic and start working on it, and in the end of the day, you leave or you leave that issue without further stressing it. The 11th point is, this is for the economist, and this could also be for the other sciences as well. Think that why you have gone through the economics, why you have gone through the course of economics. This is very important. If you have gone through the economics to have a degree or just to have a piece of paper with you, that is easier. But if you want to have a walk on the long road to the scholarship, then it is a really tedious. Okay, follow your researcher's advice. So it is your own. It is for your guidance only. So follow his advice, but decision should be yours. You should be now compatible because we are doing PhD now, and you should be now basically ready to do an independent research. So mentor's role is just simply to steer you. Just so. Also make sure that nobody else has already completed the similar research, so that to avoid the plagiarism or the thing. So the general to specific rule, remember the forest for the trees. If you want to find a tree, you should go through the whole forest. But sometimes you have some specific things. Work on the big picture first and don't get involved in details early on. Think about the big pictures once a week. For example, if you have a number of weeks or number of months, you should have planned. You think questions can be changed. A question can change. Yes, it can change. You can, if you have started working on a broader perspective and you had a question in mind, it can change during the course of your study or during the course of your work. So for that, you should be willing to throw off anything which is not very much relevant to you after changing the question. So progress on the research is generally non-linear. So yeah, this is what I have wrote this sentence in the economic language, that the progress when you start working on research, that doesn't mean that you would have you have specifically a linear trend of working, that today I would work for 2 hours, tomorrow as 2 hours. No, sometimes you will have to focus on for the long hours, sometimes you will have to focus for the short time period. So hurdles, if you feel a hurdle, sometimes you feel that there is a period that you cannot do anything, so just leave it and have a gap and do something else in that period. But there are also big leaps. Sometimes during the study you find a clue and you do a lot of work on a single day or in a single week. Giving a presentation in work in progress seminars, yes, do whatever you are doing, whatever you are writing, just share with the people by seminars and getting their feedbacks. And that means that you are open to changes, and that is also a democratic way to do research. And this sometimes may involve the excluding of something you have worked on very hard. For you would have worked on very hard. Okay, just 3 to 4 minutes.
Sir, you have 2 minutes, sir. Please.
Oh, okay. I will try to confine it. Okay. So if you have done something which is not which earlier you have done earlier on, but it's not related to you, just think of it as sunk cost. Although knowledge is not sunk cost, but you can if you are. So the last point in this thing is on my opinion that your topic should be the to the point, only relevant and to the point. There are some ethical advices which I could also have, that avoid plagiarism, as Dr. Shafi has also pointed to, refer the cited material honestly. There are some religious aspect as well, because some issues are not need to be addressed in a particular society or in a particular community. For example, so many issues, like for example, if you say that the share of casinos in the Pakistan economy, so that is not a valid or relevant point of discussion with Pakistan economy. So similarly, considering cultural and social aspects as well, some topics, particularly survey areas, do not relate to the particular society or the economy like Pakistan. So you should avoid those, and also the careful handling of the political issues, particularly when you are going to have a survey research or the survey questionnaire, then you will have to be very careful about the political issue. So next advice is to organize your life research takes time, so you keep everything else aside to work on the research work. Particularly, you should give it priority in your life. Don't let other activities take over your research work. Uh, have Don't try to be perfectionist. There would be gaps, there should be gaps. It doesn't matter, it would make somebody else to work on it. So you just keep on your own research question. uh, do not delay and set the realistic goals. So these are the journals which I have already benefited. This is a list of the quality researchers top 20 journals of economics, where we have, which I personally, if you look into my research or papers or the thesis, you would find the reference of these journals over there. They're mostly published by American Economic Association, European Economic Association, or Oxford University Press. So that is all from my side. So I think I hope that I was in time. Musa Saab, thank you very much for your for providing me this particular opportunity and sharing my experiences. Thanks a lot.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq, for such a concise but the comprehensive coverage of the topic. And one thing is there, sir. You mentioned at the end of your presentation that the researchers should focus on the research, leaving everything else. But on the ground, this thing is very difficult to maintain the study, work, and the life balance. All these things. Definitely, research takes a lot of time. But managing all these things, that's again, there is a need of a research on this balance. Isn't it, sir?
That is why I did not any job during my research dissertation.
Dr. Shafi, are you there, sir?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Okay, Dr. Shafi, there is a question from the viewer. For you, it is more related to you and the Dr. Arshad Zahir, if he is present. It is related to the topic that you have mentioned, the COVID-19. It is interesting topic. No doubt it is. It might attract the supervisors and it might attract the people and the students as well. But the thing is this: when you come on the collection of the data collection part, okay, while they're designing the methodology, do you think that 3 years would be enough for, because now the data collection would be through the online mechanisms and all these things. So the response rate in the online questionnaire is much lesser than the normal data collection procedures. So do you think that 3 years would be sufficient for the PhD?
Thank you for the question.
First, I would like to ask Dr. Shafi, then Dr. Arshad Zahir, sir, to put light on these questions.
Really depends on the area of research. For those of us that are in computing, mostly the way we drive our data is quite different from those that are in social sciences that have to go probably through the field to collect questionnaires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Most of us in science and engineering, we either use databases generated from online sources, or we actually perform experimentations that has to do with setting up equipments to be able to generate the data. So it actually depends on the area. However, I would like to say that when dealing with the time frame for a PhD work, both the students and the supervisor have a role to play, because the scope of the work will determine if the PhD can overlap more than maybe it will go beyond 3 years. If it is going to go beyond 3 years, it's important to apply what I would call wisdom here. There is need to apply wisdom so that to streamline it and take objectives that can be achievable within 3 years. So I think apply wisdom between the student and the supervisor to be able to come to a conclusion of a reasonable amount of time that can be used to achieve the data collection time. So I think it's okay.
Would you like to comment on it, sir? Dr. Arshad Zaid, your voice, just hold on, sir. Your voice, I think I need to unmute it. Yeah, please, sir.
Okay, Mr. Misra, I will strongly supplement the views of Dr. Shafi by adding something. Whenever you're going to select some innovative topic, you will have the problems of data collection because of the innovation. So there should always be a balance between the innovation of the topic and your time for the data collection. You have to have a sort of balance between that, because scope of the PhD should be important, and you have to complete it, of course, in 3 years. So, for example, COVID-19 topic of COVID-related topic, that is innovative topic, but of course there will be problem in the data collection. So there should be a balance, keeping in view the PhD time, and supervisor should guide the students about this balance.
Other thing is that my perspective is that the PhD, no doubt it is required for our, for the career and for the degree for the sake of, but it should be taken as a research as well. That you are going to, a student is going to contribute in the knowledge. Okay, so they should give the due respect, the value to the research. So giving all these things, all the focus and the orientations to this to the research topic and all these things, that is no doubt the keeping the research, the adding the knowledge should also be kept in the mind. Okay, next, moving on, sir. Our next presenter is, and I am so thankful to the Dr. Nashir Kamogisha that he is present, although he is because he has the commitments there. So now I would like to invite Honorable Dr. Nashir Adam Kamogisha. He is from Morogoro, Tanzania, and his topic of research is the understanding the correct use of the research terminologies to be used in the research proposals. So, Dr. Nashir, are you there, sir? Dr. Nashir, just please, can you share your slide, sir? Please share the screen. So if there is any problem of sharing, then I can also play your presentation, so you can just speak there. Yeah, hello, Dr. Nashir. Yes, Dr. Nashir, can you hear us, sir?
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Nashir, yes, I can hear you. I think there is some problem. So, okay, Dr. Nashir, I give you I am now going to invite the next presenter. So you just set your things on your side, okay? So I am just moving on. Okay, our next presenter is Honorable Dr. Sayyid Hamid Hussain Madani. Sayyid Hamid Hussain Madni is live from the Malaysia. So, Dr. Hamid Madni, can you hear me?
Already I showed you, can you share your slide? Screen.
Okay, I just opened that. Okay, the topic of the Dr. Hamid Hussain Madni is the critical factor in the proposal write-ups. Yes, Dr. Madni, can you see the screen, sir?
Yes, sir. Just press F5 to full screen.
Yeah, just I'm doing it. Wait, hold on. Okay, yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening from Malaysia. I'm Dr. Sayyid Hamid Hussain Madni, School of Computing Securities Engineering, UTM, Malaysia. Next slide. Here you can see my research background and research profile. You can see, and if you want need any help in research, you can email me, and you can also follow me on social media. Next slide, sir.
The voice is low. Just increase it, please. Bit louder,
Okay,
bit louder, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Next slide, please. In the research proposal, first of all, the advice the first necessary thing is research proposal is dua. When we can dua, everything can be go in positive side. The second one thing is idea or research topic. How you select your research topic, how you can get the idea, you can ask from the supervisor, you can ask from the your friends, can ask from the current topic from the research, and that one you can also ask from your friends. So yes, sir.
Yes, sir, please carry on, sir.
My volume. Okay, sir. Then the second thing is search engines. How you can search engines which search engine is used for searching the database or like Google Scholar, Science Direct, different kind of search engines you can use for selection of paper, downloading of paper. Then you have to criticize about the academic database, which academic database and you use for the selection of papers. Then you can ask from live written research. Live written research, you can ask from the supervisors, your friends, your current media, social media. So you can search these things or for the selection of topics from the live academy. Then the next important thing is selection paper. How you select the selection of the paper. It is ISI paper, it is a super paper, it is conference paper, it is IEEE. It depends upon your research, and it needs to flow the proposal defense. Then what is the category of the paper? It is journal, it is conference paper, it is book chapter, it is lecture, it is symposium paper. These all things you have to select in your mind when you select the paper. What is the writing style? What is the grammar? What is the academic writing style? How to write the abstract? What is the structure abstract? These all things you have to keep in your mind. Then selection of journal. Which journal you select? And this is publication process or these all things when you are going for the PhD, you have to keep in your mind. Most of the academic databases you can find from Web of Science, Scoopers, Hindawi, IEEE, ACM, Elsevier, Springers, MDPI, and other libraries. From these libraries, you can select from your paper, you can choose from paper, download papers, and you can the is okay. Okay. And just select the paper from your study of proposal defense, or it is also help for your finance thesis. The next slide, sir. Next slide. shortcut for selection of research paper. If you see the paper from Elsevier, Springer, ACM, you don't have need to check it is ISI, it is Scopus. You just select and put in your studies. If it is in international conference, you have to check it from it is a Springer or it is Scopus or it is international which level 9 conference, then you can have to select. If it is the paper is from workshop or symposium, no need to include your journal, include your proposal design because it is not a good paper. So you have the selection of papers according to these sources. Next slide, sir. There are two methods to check the quality of paper because mostly we use ISI paper and Scopus paper. What is ISI? Institute of Scientific Information, which is also known as the Thomson Reuters or Web of Science. They have also the categories Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. If you want your paper or you have to select the paper which is from ISI, you have to go and follow and check from jcrcultivate.com. If the paper is from Scopus, so you can, I give the links from here also, the Scopus SGR, Scopus Journal Report. So you can go and open the link and put the paper link here or journal link here. You can find that it is Scopus or ISI. Next slide, sir. From the writing language, you writing to be simple and scientific. Avoid unnecessary redundancy, repetition, and unnecessary material you want to write. Avoid these things. When you are writing the thesis or thesis proposal, the tense should be present indefinite tense or past perfect. When it tense is present tense, you can use in your introduction. You can use in your literature review. Sometimes you can use past indefinite tense in your literature review. But when you have to describe about the methodology, in the proposal defense we do future tense, but in the thesis writing you have to use the present perfect tense because you have done all these things. Either you can use active voice or either you can use a passive voice. So you can, these things have been no paraphrasing. When you complete your writing, you can ask from your friends to read your thesis. It can be improve your thesis writing and also it got the mistake from your thesis. Avoid ambiguous sentences such as can be, maybe, because it can give the examiners or supervisor it can be happen, it cannot be happen. So avoid these things. You have done this thing, so you should you can say that this is reported by this thing. You cannot this can be improved. You can say that this is improved. This is resource scheduling techniques, and also avoid the negative sentence. Like I give the example, like there has been none studies found in this area, or you can say that instead of this one, there are few studies found in the resource scheduling. So these are some writing language issues and tips for writing proposal or thesis defense. The next important thing is references. When you use the references, so how you use the other work in your thesis, and you have to cite these things. There are two methods in the citation. Like first one, when you are put the citation in the start or by author, so you can follow the Madni ETAS 2019, and bracket should be cover the 19 years. Or if you're using the number system, the bracket should cover only the number system. If it is citation should be in the middle or in the end of the sentence, so the bracket should cover whole the reference or whole the number system cover in the bracket. For the proper citations, we cannot go for the manual. Most of the students go for manual and they can write the bibliography manually. That one is not a good. You must have some references tools like EndNote, Mendeley, Zero, DevText. DevText is used for if you are using the letter. So which software you use, it is okay. But you have to manage all these references with the help of any references tool. There are many referencing styles like number, alphabet, APA, Springer has their own style, their own style. So you can follow according to your university template, or you see um, uh, what if you want, you have to follow this one. Like if you want to submit in the paper in the fingers have their own format. If you want to submit the paper in the LCWare, they have different formats. Like in UPM, we have follow the APA, and also we have follow the hardware style. We also follow the number system. It depends upon the university requirement. Next question. The first is because the proposal defense, we have follow the hello.
I can hear you.
In the proposal defense, we have followed the.
Yeah, just carry on, sir. Yeah, just easily carry on. We can
Okay.
very clearly, sir.
Okay. In the proposal defense, mostly the proposal defense is based on chapter 1, 2, and 3. What is chapter 1? Chapter 1 is introduction of your proposal, which is consists of the following points: overview, problem background. Overview, so the only the like Dr. Shafi also told about you have the topic, research area, then you go for the research problem, then according to what is the problems and issues found in the research area. What is the problem background? Problem background, it is the related work from the problem, and you have to find, so you have to show the gap from existing work from this work. This is the gap, and this can improve by this method. Then you have to write a problem statement. What is the problem statement? You have to identify the problem or issues which you want to solve. Then you have to make the research questions according to your object. Then you have to prepare the research theme. It can explain your whole work in 3 or 4 lines, not more than 4 lines. So you can explain your whole work in 3 or 4 lines. Then research objective. For the master's, you have only one objective. For the PhD, you have minimum 3 objectives. It depends upon your university requirements. It depends on your supervisor requirements. Then you have to focus on the research scope. What is the research scope? It identifies the limitations and boundaries of the research. You can, like, if I talk about the research scheduling, I only focus on the research scheduling. I'm not focused on the education and the part of the cloud computing. Then what is the research conclusion? What you want to achieve, you have to present it. Then the third one is, last one is thesis organization. How you organize your thesis. Second, next question. The second chapter mostly or literature review. Depend upon the literature review. In the start, you have to explain about the basic introduction. Then you come on the problem on the research area. Like I give you the example here: resource scheduling, information, infrastructure as a service, and cloud computing. Then you have to get the related work from the existing work. Like I categorize into taxonomy of the resources scheduling algorithm. Then you have to summarize all existing papers, and then you have to make the table. Like tables give you the ethics of the method literature review. What is the limitations? What are the achievements? What are the proposed methods, tools? What are the objectives of the paper? You can write here. Then in the end, you can easily find the research gap. And next part is finding from the research review. You have to show that what are the existing works and what are the loopholes between existing work and current existing. So how you can improve this thing. In the end of this one, you have to present the chapter summary. Next slide, sir. The third chapter, which is mostly used in research methodology, in proposal, research proposal is research methodology. In this one, you have to explain the research stream of your thesis or proposal. How you can explain your thesis. You have to maintain the research methodology. Research framework has basically 3 parts: background, analysis, and planning. In the background, you have to do the literature review. Then you have come on the problem formulation. Then you come out from the what are the simulation tools, which database you use for the your experiment, your simulation. Then you have to propose the technique which is used to solve the issues and problems in your research area. The third point is implementation, testing, and problem evaluation. Implementation means you have to do the simulation, either you can do the experiment. Then you have to check these all algorithms with the help of some performance matrices. And then you have to compare with existing studies. Then which matrices you use for the comparison. So these all things are part of the implementation, testing, and performance evaluation. Then in the after that one you have to research plan and schedule, which is you can easily make with the help of this chart. Like James chart, you have a 1 year, you have to cover the literature review, then you have to cover the research methodology, then you have to achieve the first objective, second objective, third objective, then you have to prepare for writing. In the same immediately, you can write the papers, which is requirement for the university. So if you follow these small things, it can help you to make your proposal in a good quality. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Madani, for such a good, the technical aspects. I would like to say technical aspects of our research proposal, and these are most difficult. The main confusion that comes to the mind of the student is regarding these components of the research proposal. So thank you very much for this, sir. Okay, now moving on, Dr. Nasir, sir, please turn on your mic, sir, please. Yeah, can you hear me?
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, just thank you.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Okay, can you just play the slide, sir? Share the screen.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. We can hear you, sir. Yes, Dr. Nasir. Dr. Nasir, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, Dr. Nasir, just can you hear us, sir? We can hear you. Yeah, please. Okay, Nasir is going, Dr. Nasir. Walaikum salam. Yeah, please, sir, carry on, sir, Dr. Nasir.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Please carry on.
Please, do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Carry on, please, sir.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. If you just hear me, please raise up your hand so as I can understand, because I can just see that there is a problem of connection here. So, Dr. if you hear me, please raise up your hand so I can just proceed.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, just play the
If you hear me, please raise up your hand so that I can proceed.
Okay. We can hear you, sir.
Okay. Yes, assalamu alaikum all, because I can let's say good morning or good afternoon, because we are just come from different country. My topic, as you see, my name is Dr. Nasir Adam Kamugisha, Tanzania. My topic is on understanding research terminology, and the reason of coming with this topic is that there is a lot of confusions when it comes to the issue of writing either research proposal, research, dissertation, or thesis. And even if you go in different books, you find that they tend to use this terminology interchangeably. And sometimes they see one terminology can just supersede the other terminology. So that's why I try to come up with this topic. That's on the, I'm going to try to take that introduction. That's when you go in several books, articles, papers, and whatever, you find that they're just using the term research methodology as research method. Sometimes you may find someone just using the word research design, but meaning research approaches, and so forth and so forth. So that's why I try to come up with this topic as a part of discussion, because at the end you may find that the confusion is still remain there. So it's a matter of raising discussion as the researchers and scholars, so as we can later on come up with a common understanding. So in my presentation, I'm going to focus that's as you see that junior researchers get confusion when required to write their research proposal or research dissertation. Confusion on what? On the correct use of those terminologies. Some of them, they use methods instead of methodology, and then vice versa, or approach instead of design, and vice versa. So it seems that there's a need now to share idea with scholars, with researchers, junior researchers, and senior researchers on those terminologies, the correct use of those terminologies. And then our discussion will be on these 6 tips. That is, what is research types, research approaches, research techniques, research methodology, research method, and research design. That's our area we're going to concentrate. But we need to understand from the beginning that my intention is not on the issue of defining or just elaborating each terminology in detail. My intention is just to open up a discussion on those terminologies. And that's why you see it here that I'm going to start with the research types. We'll talk about research types, and there's not necessarily to put the research types in your research proposal or research dissertation. It's just to open your mind, your intention, the motive behind of doing that research. That's where you come up with research types. We may come up with types of research in either based on 2 views, application view and objective viewpoints. So when it comes to the issue of application, that's where you find either there's pure research, or sometimes we call it basic research or fundamental research. And the intention is to just come up with, you need to come up with a new idea. The existing idea, so you need to add a little bit. Or you may just come up with applied research. So those, the intention that you have, you need to do what? That's where we get the types of research. Or sometimes the objective. It could be descriptive, it could be correlative, it could be explanatory. So that's how to name types of research. So it depends. Your motive behind doing that research, and then we come up with different types of research. That's one. So we are going to go into details on the issue of what is types of what is basic research, what is what, and normal. My intention is how now we should come up, understand that terminology related to research types, we mean what in research. And 2, is in this where the confusion comes from here. Research method and research methodology. That's what is research method and what is research methodology, and actually which big and which terminology within the other one. That's why I started with that slide. That's research method and research terminology are the 2 terms that are often confusing to many people. When you go in different research, we are just listing the format of Harvard University. They're just writing research method on the chapter 3. When you go to other universities, just also try to go to Manchester University. They're just coming with writing research methodology. When you go to Al-Madina International University, where you're just studying, you find they're just using research methodology. So they're just using that terminology interchangeably, but actually those terminologies are different. So research methodology so far is where the research types come from. Research method. That research methodology is where we write in chapter 3, and then within we have a lot of things discussed on the research methodology. So research method is within research methodology. So as a researcher, in the part of research methodology, it's very important. You need to plan in advance before doing your research, before deciding that which kind of either design approaches or whatever which are going to use, because you need to plan in advance. Because if you fail to plan in advance, you are going to automatically fail. So the research methodology is the most and the crucial steps of research design process. So it's like a blueprint which then tell us which design you're going to use, what are you going to collect data, what about your population, sample selection, whatever, or how are you going to analyze your data, all those information within that's research methodology. So research, as you see those tips within it. So when it comes to research method, that's why I tell you that it's within the research methodology. And then it's better when you go to different research, it's not good to use that research method. It's better to use either data collection method or research techniques or research tools, because research method is all about how are you going to get the information from the field. Either using questionnaire, using interview, using experimentation, but we are talking about how are you going to come up with data from the field. So those that would be calling this research method. But in actual sense, the correct way of writing that word is better. We write a research data collection method or research tools instead of just using research method, because when you use the research method, sometimes you tend to confuse other scholars, readers, because they know that when you talk about research method, you are just the same with research methodology. And then when it comes to the issue of research approach is a plan. That's why when you go there, we find that, okay, that's what we talk about, either those three types. That's either your research is going to be quantitative, or qualitative, or triangulation approach, meaning mixing the two methods. So within that, because there's a connection, because in qualitative research, there is a certain method of data collection you're supposed to use. So you can just tell yourself that you're just using quantitative approach. And then the same to quantitative, and you're using a triangulation approach, which is mixing approach. So we don't need of confusing, because when you go different literature, you find that when we talk about approach, they mean design. There are different things, from my view. And design is other things. Even if within maybe qualitative research approach, you find a different kind of design. But you cannot say that my research design is quantitative or qualitative. No, that's another things. And then come to research design. Research design so far is defined as referred to the overall strategy that you choose to integrate the different components of the study in a coherent and logical way. So here in design, that's where you find that right one. When you judge it, because that's I just copied from somewhere, that is the research design within that, and the top is supposed to be help research at the top here where there's research design is supposed to be research approach. So within research approach, you find there is quantitative, there is qualitative, and there is mixed method. So within the quantitative, that's where you find now those design. So you are designing quantitative, you may have correlational design, quasi experiment, or experimental design. When you come to quantitative, that's defined in grounded theory, phenomenological design, and so forth, and the other one on the mixing method. So the point here it lies is when you are just writing the kind, or you are just writing your research with a proposal or research method, research dissertation, it's very important to understand the terminology. That's okay. There is no need of mentioning about research types in your research proposal or your research or your dissertation. The research types is there. It's like a motivating factor. Which thing is motivating to do research? That's where you come to be in a certain position to come up with a certain type of research. But when you come after that, in the actual sense, in your proposal, in your dissertation, you need to have a chapter named as research methodology and not research method. So if it is research methodology, it means that within research methodology, there where you find the research approach, you find the research design, you find the issue of sampling strategies, the issue of population, the issue of research design. But the connection is what? You may have one sentence elaborating research approaches in the connection to research design. For instance, you may say that my research it will be a qualitative research using a phenomenological research design. Why? Because phenomenological research design is within the qualitative research. Or you may just come up with my research will be quantitative, and then the research design will be quite experimental or experimental design. That's how we need to elaborate to go with that kind of those terminologies in doing research. I need to end up here and then allow if there's questions, contribution. I need much contribution because it's confusing parts. So it is matter of discussing and then come up is with a common stand on using those terminology in research. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nasir, for giving such a good presentation, sir, and a good topic you have selected. Really, it is worthwhile for all of us. Okay, well, Dr. Arshad, sir, are you there?
Yes, sir, Mustafa, I'm here.
Yeah, okay, sir. There is a
Okay,
question.
proceed.
I have received a question from a Facebook. I mean, like one of the viewer is watching it. He is saying that there is the possibility. It is possible that we conduct the interdisciplinary research, like research between the computer science and combining the management sciences, okay, or the economics. But when we do the PhD, I mean, definitely a person, a student is he belongs to the only one field or one area. How can he do the academic, I mean, level of at the this interdisciplinary research at the academic level? I mean, or two students can select the same topic from different discipline. Is it possible?
Okay, it is
There are some,
possible. The amount of coming with the different topics, it depends the area of specialization. So, and then there are other area which is typically quantitative. So you are going to use quantitative approach, and then you use a design, quantitative design, which is experimental, quasi-experimental, descriptive. But it depends the nature of topic. You may be in science, and then you may use qualitative somehow. So the matter of topic, the matter of either which approach to use, which kind of design to use, it depends the topic you are just using.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Can you stop sharing your screen, Dr. Nasir? I'm coming to you, Dr. Arshad, sir. After this, Dr. Arshad, sir, please, sir, give your views on this question. Dr. Nasir, please, sir, turn off your screen, sir. Thank you.
Okay, it is always ideal to select the topic which is directly related to the PhD subjects in which that PhD discipline. But there are different subjects about which we can select the interdisciplinary sort of topics which you are telling about. For example, engineering management, that is the combination of engineering management. So for the final research topic, you can have a sort of topic which is, management, which may be the management topic, but indirectly that will be related to the engineering. So we can select the interdisciplinary topics, but that should cover the main area of your research subject in which you are going to do the PhD. That is important, and you will have to justify if you are selecting any
To say
interdisciplinary
the student, the research scholar will confine himself to his area of specialization. Okay.
Okay. Ideally, he should confine to his own area.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Our last presenter of today's session are. Thank you for waiting such a long time, Dr. Syed Hussain Mustafa Gilani. Dr. Syed Mustafa Gilani is from Faisalabad right now. He is a young chap. Mashallah, he is an experienced person. He has the experience of 9 to 10 years in the industry. So, whereas he has recently completed his PhD, so it was my honor, because based on his industrial experience and the topic that he had in the PhD, I have requested him to join this session. So really, we are going to have some valuable, things we are going to have here in today's lecture. Okay, Dr. Hussain Mustafa Gilani, sir, please, over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Please keep your volumes a bit higher, sir, so that we can listen you properly.
Sir, am I? I hope I am audible to you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Today, I'm going to give a presentation is your literature review critical? A reason for choosing this topic is that literature review is one of the most critical components for every research. Either it is a research proposal, either it is a research paper, either it is a thesis. But unfortunately, by the scholars, it has not been given the due weightage which it deserves, right? So the critical, especially in terms of the criticality of the literature review. First, we will try to find out that why we actually basically conduct the research literature review. We conduct the literature review at the preliminary stage, which conducted at both two stages. First, when we basically have a general idea about our research topic, and we want to dig out the existing literature to just find out that what work has already been done on the topic on which we want to work out, or we want to try to dig out that what work which has been parallelly basically going on by some other researchers. We try to find out some valuable ideas and findings to basically structure our research question and our research objective for our research thesis proposals or our research papers. Then when we finalize our research topic, when we finalize our research questions, research objectives, with the passage of time, when we dig out the literature, when we critically review the literature, with the passage of time, we realize that there also need to refine our research question or research objective, because with the passage of time, we may get some new aspect or new insights from the literature, and we may get some new ways to basically, we new strategies to basically conduct your research, research thesis or research proposal. And one of the most important aspects for the conducting literature review is to dig out the future research recommendations being given by the other authors, because these are the basically foundation of the gap for your literature, for your research questions, your research objectives, and your research topic, right? And we conduct the literature review to provide insights into the strategic and the techniques appropriate to your research objectives. So according to the Marx order, there are basically two approaches to conduct a critical literature review. One is a deductive approach and the second is an inductive approach. By the deductive approach, we mean that we first dig out the literature, we thoroughly study the literature, we thoroughly study the theories, and we through theoretical discussion and theoretically dialogue, theoretical building, we build up a conceptual or theoretical frameworks, and then we test those theoretical and conceptual framework by collection of the primary data, and just we test that theoretical framework. Whereas in inductive approach, it is entirely opposite. We first go for the collection of some primary information, primary data, and based on that data, we develop some theories, and then we test those theories from the digging out the existing literature, right? The process of the literature review starts from your research question and research objectives. Always remember that if you want to conduct a good, constructive, and critical literature review, you should be focused towards your research question and your research objective. You should remain within the ambit of your research question and research objective. You should not get distracted while writing the literature. That's in most of the cases I have seen specifically in research proposals. What we as a student do a mistake is that we get distracted by the agendas of the authors, because every author has its own agenda when it their research thesis. So when we quote them, when we follow them, when we, cite them in our research, we sometimes get distracted by their agenda. So you should be always focused towards your research question. Your research literature search should be within the ambit of your research question and your research objective. Define the parameters, generate and define keywords, conduct the research and obtain the literature, and then evaluate whether this literature, what you have find out is whether valuable for you or not. Record it, write the draft, and keep on doing the same process until unless your critical literature review process is completed. Okay, whenever you read something from your literature, ask 5 questions from yourself. These are very, very important. Whenever you read some article, whenever you read some thesis, whenever you read some proposals, whenever you read some research papers, always ask why I am reading this. That's why, because why you should ask this question, because as I already mentioned that every author, every researcher has its own agenda when they write their research paper or research thesis or research proposal, right? So we have our own research agenda, we have our own research question, we have our own research objective. When we will ask ourselves this question, that why I am reading this paper, we will be focused towards our research question and research objective. We will ask ourselves that, yes, although the author agenda is different or it is related to my research, my study, but I have to abstract things that are relevant to my research question and research objective from that paper, right? So the second question you should ask from yourself while conducting the literature is, what is author trying to do in the writing this? Okay. Now, in second phase, try to understand the agenda of the author, and then try to relate that agenda with your research questions and research objective. Then you should be focused on how convincing is what the author is saying. Why? Because in a critical literature review, you should always cite the facts, not the opinions. So that's why you have to first convince yourself that whatever the author is saying is either it's a fact or the opinion of the author. For your good literature review, you have to quote, you have to cite the facts of your related to your research question and your research objectives. Then what use can I make of this reading? How I can use this reading by constructing my critical literature review, right? The content of the critical literature review includes the key academic theories. Whenever you're going to conduct a literature review for your research topic, you should have a clear understanding of your research question and research objective, your scope of your study, and you should not neglect any significant and important academic theory in your research literature review, right? Demonstrate the current knowledge of the area. Always try to get out the literature review of the research papers, thesis, abstracts, conferences from last 3 to 5 years, preferably last 3 years. I mean, you can go for the 5 year. Until unless it is very, very important, you can go beyond 5 years, right? Use clear referencing for readers to find out original cited publications. I will advise you to use softwares like EndNote, MATLAB. I mean, it's up to you, but I prefer EndNote for citation of your publications, which are you're basically referencing in your literature review. Acknowledge the work of the researchers, because if you are not going to acknowledge them, no one is going to acknowledge your research in your literature review, right? So we have to understand that what makes a literature review a critical literature review. What is the difference between the traditional literature review and the critical literature review? What mistake we as a student do is we just start writing the academic theories available in the body of the knowledge, so searching from different papers and different journals and different, digital libraries. We just start writing in a chronological order about the previous work done by the different authors in our area. That's not the basically critical literature review, right? You should have to ensure that the literature cover relates clearly to your research question and the research objective. There should be a dialogue, there should be an argument, there should be a constructive criticism on the previous existing theories, and there should be the identification of the gap. It should be an incremental steps towards building of a theoretical framework. When we were doing our PhD, I remember my supervisor used to give me the example of a burger. I mean, just imagine a burger having the layer of a bread, then the layer of salad, then the layer of a meat or the patty, and then again it's covered with the layer of the salad and the sauces, and then it's covered with the layer of the bread. Imagine a burger having just only a layer of the bread. Will it be a tasteful burger? It will not. So that's the problem with the literature review. When we just start writing our academic theories in chronological order, it's just like a burger with a bread. It's not having the flavoring of salad. It's not having the flavoring of your patties, salads, sauces. If you want to make those flavoring and make your burger tasteful, you have to build up a constructive dialogue and constructive argument within your literature review. I mean, quote the important and the significant theories of the area and cover the most relevant and the significant literature. You should include relevant and up-to-date literature for the last 3 years, and then criticize, then make an argument on the existing theories, mention their strengths if they have the strengths, and those strengths should be relevant to your research and question and research objective, and how those previous academic theories are supporting your research theories, research question and objective, and how they are basically negating your research question and research objective. And then build up a dialogue and try to basically construct it in a way that it should construct a theoretical framework, but in a very beautiful dialogue manner. You have to contextualize your research, showing how your research questions relate to the previous research review. That should be the must part of the critical literature review, right? Have you assessed the strength and the weakness of the previous research being reviewed? You have to give an analysis, you have to give your critical argument. Write down the previous theories, and then they give your critical analysis on that previous theory, how that previous theory is useful to your research question and research objective. What are the strengths of those significant previous given theories, and what are the weaknesses, and why these weaknesses, how these weaknesses can be overcome. Give your opinion, give the opinion of other authors who have given on that particular theory. So that will build up a dialogue, that will build up a criticality in your literature review. Have you been objective in your discussion and assessment of the people's research? Don't be too much subjective. Don't just focus on writing of the number of the paragraphs and the number of the words. Be objective, be focused, be constructive, be aligned with within the scope of your study, be aligned with your research question and research objectives, right? Have you included the references to the research that is counter to as well as support your own opinion? Always give those references, and for the readers, and always use the softwares like EndNote for the citation of those references. Have you made reasoned judgment about the values and the relevance of others' research to your own, which we have already discussed? Have you justified clearly your own ideas? I mean, it is not like that we have one day we work on this topic and then just abstracted the research question, because now we are finding out the literature review that supports our research topic. No. You have to justify your research ideas from the critical arguments being developed from the weaknesses of the previous theories, from the weaknesses of the previous work being done, from the gaps which have been previously, which are available in the existing body of the knowledge. If you are able to identify the gaps in your literature review, then you are going to build a strong theoretical foundation for your theoretical framework. Have you highlighted those areas where new research is needed? That's a very important, because these areas are going to support the reasons of your research topic and your research question and research objective, right? While structuring the literature review, it's better to have a clear title which describes the focus of your research rather than just writing it a literature review. You may use subheadings within the literature review to help guide your readers that where you are trying to make the discussions move towards your theoretical framework. It should be an incremental steps towards the theoretical framework. Start a more general at a more general level, but don't be too broad that you should go that you may go beyond your research question and research objective before narrowing down to the specific research question. Provide a brief overview of the key ideas and the themes spotted from your literature review. Summarize, compare, and the contrast the research of the key authors. You can even use the table, which is one of the new technique which I have seen in most of the data spaces, that we will use a summarized table of the literature review, in which they summarize the theories, compare, and give the contrast of the key research of the different authors of the area. You may organize your literature thematically around the ideas contained in research being reviewed rather than being researchers, right? Your focus should be towards the research, not the researcher, who is basically to whom you're basically quoting. Narrow down to highlight previous research work most relevant to your own research. Highlight those aspects where your research will provide the fresh insights, right? Key to the critical literature review is always, whenever your research proposal is being read by your supervisor or your evaluator, he should get the understanding, he should get the flavoring that you demonstrate a good understanding and you have basically thoroughly evaluated the material of the literature which is already available. You have already mentioned the most critical theories, you have given a constructive critical argument, you have built up a very beautiful dialogue, it's a crispy dialogue that supports your research question and subject, that supports the need to conduct those research. Link the different ideas from a cohesive and a coherent argument, make clear connections to your research objectives and subsequent empirical material, right? There are multiple sources of literature. There can be primary sources, there are secondary sources, there are the tertiary sources. The primary sources usually include the reports, theses, emails, conference proceedings, company reports, unpublished manuscript sources, some government publications, whereas the secondary, which are the mostly used, journals, books, newspapers, some government publications, digital libraries. In tertiary sources of the literature, you have indexes, abstracts, catalogs, encyclopedias, dictionaries, bibliographies, citation index. Whenever we move from the tertiary to the primary sources of the literature, the level of the detail of the literature gets increased, whereas the time that is basically consumed for the publication from primary to the tertiary, it is basically increasing in form of the publication. And whenever you write your literature review, you should write it in your own words. You should not copy and paste the different ideas. If you want to present the ideas of different authors, you can present it in your own way. That's the best way. And where it is very, very necessary, use inverted commas, right? To avoid common forms of the plagiarism, that is stealing material from another source without any using inverted commas, without quoting or giving the credit to that particular author, submitting material written by someone else. That's basically a very big forgery sort of a mistake being done by some of the students. Copying material without quotation marks. If you're not basically giving the quotation marks, it is assumed that you are writing that perspective, and someone can basically challenge you that it is not your thought. Paraphrasing material without documentation, do not go for the paraphrasing, write it in your own words, write it in a critical way. Thank you so much. That was the basic aspect of the critical literature review.
Okay, Dr. Gilani, thank you very much, sir, for such a nice presentation, knowledgeable, full of knowledge and full of experience as well. So there is a question, another question from the viewers. Dr. Arshad Zahid, Dr. Sahab, are you there, sir?
Hey, Mr. I'm here.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay, sir, thank you for your such a long stay with us, sir. It's really honored and
always welcome, sir. You're always welcome.
Great, sir. Okay, the question is that it's from the Dr. Azim from UAE. That how the technical research, how would you differentiate the technical research proposal from that of the business research proposal? So if very quickly you can comment on this question, sir. Thank you.
Okay, in the technical research proposal, there should be all the details, technical details, which we have discussed in today's sessions, like literature review, methodology, like instrumentation, sampling design. Every technical detail should be there. As far as the business research proposals are concerned, because that proposals are usually to be submitted to some higher authority, so technical details are not required in those sort of proposals. In those such business proposals, the main idea is to present the idea in the introduction. We focus on mainly the findings, and then finally the conclusions and all of that. So the basic purpose is not the technical, because the higher authority is not interested in the technical details. They may not have known about this sampling design and the instrumentation. They are actually interested in some decision making about any business problem. So that is the difference, that we will have to focus on business problem. We'll have to justify that problem. We'll have to, if no doubt the methodology background is there, but when you submit it, then the technical background that is behind the scene, you know.
And
So
this
that
is
is
okay. This is all right. It is understandable. Like for example, in this is what you are talking about. What is happening in the industry? I mean, the real practical proposals. Okay, research proposals. What is if you can just join this question with the from the academic research? I mean, research that the people students do at the MS and PhD level. So that would remain the same.
PhD research. That is not the business proposal research. So in that research, every technical detail should be there. That is the more and most technical research, I would say, the PhD research proposals.
Okay, all the participants and all the viewers, thank you very much for this is going to be the end of today's session. I'm thankful to all the participants, our respected professors, Dr. Arshad Zahir and Dr. Tariq and Dr. Madni, Dr. Shafi, Dr. Nasher and Dr. Gilani, and really it was a very informative and very, very worthwhile session for all of us. And my purpose of conducting this seminar, this webinar, was just to have a expert opinion for our students from the different perspective. So that is why I have selected the researchers from the different walk of life. I mean, different professional fields as well, and also from the different countries. Actually, I'm also at the end. I'm also thankful to particularly the virtual association of the Al Madina International University, Malaysia. I mean, they are the main. I mean, the rather driving force behind. I mean, organizing such kind of an activity here, and we will be conducting it for them. That we are going to conduct further sessions like this for them. So hopefully, this was being the first international session of this level of the research related to the research. So definitely on the basis of the feedback that I will be getting, we will be conducting more. And also I'm thankful to the Federal Urdu University for participating in it, the economics department, Dr. Tariq, the placement bureau of the Federal Urdu University, and also the people, and also the particularly the technical support that has been provided by the Artsmith Studios in Islamabad, F8, so where I am right now sitting. So because this thing was not possible for me to handle all these technicalities of streaming and all these things, and from my home. So so I'm thankful to the team and all these experts who are sitting around me in the Artsmith studio. So okay, and the next one, I'm also thankful to the two important personalities. One is Dr. Azim from UAE, from the American University in UAE, and also the Dr. Commander Akram from Daria University. Really it was big, and Dr. Tariq as well. It was there. I mean, the personal support and the personal interest, and I am able to. I mean, they have got the confidence to conduct this important work, this important webinar. So thank you very much to all of you and all the viewers. So please like, share, and subscribe this channel. Okay, and also share your views and comments. Okay, participant, thank you very much. Allah Hafiz. Just end the stream.
Allah Hafiz.
Just press this end. And also the streaming.